Good morning, Pips. How are we all doing? What's the weather doing at the minute? It's been a bit on and off, hasn't it? It's nice and cool though this morning, so that's why I've come out to do a tab now. This is probably going to be the last tab I do for a couple of weeks, due to the fact that on Wednesday, Lisa and I are driving up to Scotland because I'm working at the Scottish Open for DP World Tour. Then we're going to stop off for a couple of days up in Northumberland. Love Northumberland, but I'm also hopefully meeting up with a guy that I served with back in the 1980s. Jacko, keep an ear out on your phone, mate. I'm going to give you a shout when I get near you. But so today's the anniversary, 20th anniversary of the 7/7 bombings. Now I'm pretty sure most of us know exactly where we were when this atrocity happened. I know where I was. Funny enough, I was at the time working for the BBC up at the Scottish Open, which was held at that time at Loch Lomond Golf Club. So I'd actually been out of the army 5 years. So prior to that, what with my dad's service and everything, I've been dodging the terrorists of the IRA for over 30 years, and I came out unscathed. But on the day of the 7/7 bombings, I'll never forget, I was actually out on the golf course, walking around, and obviously my phone was on silent, because obviously when we're up close to the players, we can't sort of drop a bollock, yeah, and have our phones going off. So I noticed in my pocket, my phone was in my pocket, and it was buzzing like a bee that was getting high on the honey. And I thought, well, I wonder what's going on there. So when we finished working with the match, I went back down to the TV compound. Obviously I was going to have my lunch before going out for another round with the golfers. But I thought I better check my phone. And missed calls galore. And I'm thinking, what the hell is going on? So Lisa and I hadn't been together long at the time. So I rang Lisa up and I said to her, I've got all these missed calls. Any idea what's going on? She went, have you not seen the news? I said, no. She said, there's been a load of bombings in London. Right. She said, nah. The Aldgate train that you should have been on to go over to the hosting site. We had a hosting site over in Aldgate. I actually worked in just behind Hatton Garden in Clerkenwell. She said that the tube that you should have been on has been hit and there's been a lot of fatalities. And I was like, Christ. Good morning, my love.
Morning.
You come on through.
Come on, hey.
Ooh,
Hey,
I'm friendly, matey.
yeah.
No worries. Hiya.
Okay.
Hello. So, yeah. So the train that I should have been on, or the tube train I should have been on, had been hit. So, of course, then I started to reflect on what was going on. Because not only was there the tube at Aldgate, there was also one at Edgware. And I used to travel out to Edgware on occasions as well. But also the way our bus in Russell Square. Now Russell Square wasn't far. Good morning. Russell Square wasn't far from where I worked. So of course, all of my mates, everyone that knew that I was working in central London and so on, were a bit concerned. And those that tried to ring me, yeah, I did get back to them as soon as I possibly could. Obviously I had a short lunch break. And then I was back out on the course again. But of course, by this time, news has travelled around the TV compound about what's going on. Now, the majority of us that used to work for the BBC were all ex-military or serving soldiers. We used to do about 11 tournaments a year with the BBC. So you can imagine what was going on through people's heads. Now, especially those of us that have been out to Northern Ireland or even out to Germany, because as any of you remember, it was a case of the IRA decided to not only hit mainland Britain, but they started taking on the British soldiers out in Germany. I'll never forget, it was the Regimental Sergeant Major of the Royal Regiment of Wales. He got ambushed at the traffic lights at Ostend as he was heading home on leave. I was about an hour behind him. And when I got to the traffic lights, as you turned to go to Calais, yeah, there was a huge police presence, and it was all cordoned off and we were being diverted. But you look at it now, 20 years on. Now, what I would say to people out there, how many of you have actually thought, won't happen again? How many of you have spotted a holdall lying on the floor and not thought to report it? Now, maybe it's because of us guys that went through the terrorist atrocities during the 70s and through to the 2000s. Yeah, whenever we go anywhere, we spot these things, we report it. Lisa hates me because of the fact that whenever I go anywhere, my eyes are everywhere. I'm looking for the exits. I'm looking for anything that could be out of place. I know during the time in Germany, yeah, we moved from the old BFG plates, British Forces Germany plates, through to having, if you had a right-hand drive car, you went on to a normal UK style plate. If you had a left-hand drive car, you ended with you had a German registered number plate. But the only thing there was, obviously we used to have to search under our cars and everything at the time. Yeah, we had mirrors issued to us with torches. Now, the only person that's going to be in a supermarket car park on his hands and knees having to look underneath the car is obviously going to be a British squaddy, whether it be on a UK plate or a German plate. So it was a bit pointless really, wasn't it? You know, if the IRA were doing target recce's, and they obviously used to do that, then all they've got to do is go to Car Stats or any supermarket in Germany, keep an eye out down there. Yeah, oh, there's a squaddy, I'll follow him home. And just like the terrorists of 2005, terrorists don't care that children are involved. Now, like I say, I remember when that RSM was taken out, they literally walked up to the car and took him out through the window. Didn't care that his wife and his kids were in the car at the same time. And it's like these terrorists of 2005 didn't care anything. Now, what I would say is the blokes that were carrying the bombs were obviously cajoled into it by someone else. Someone that didn't have the kahunas to actually strap the bomb to themselves and go and do it. Yeah, so that poor sod, been indoctrinated, goes and straps it off to himself, goes and blows himself up thinking that he's going to meet his 20 virgins in heaven or whatever they call it in the Muslim faith. Yeah, well, if it was so good, why didn't the bloke that was convincing you to do it go and do it himself? That's my attitude to it. But I'd like to pay tribute to those people in 2005 that lost their lives. Greatest respect. You didn't deserve what happened to you, and I do hope that you're resting in peace and that 20 years on your family have managed to find some sort of answer. Yeah, and I'm sure they'll be remembering you today. The people that lost limbs and everything, very similar to the squaddies that were out in Iraq and Afghanistan. Again, you didn't deserve it, you weren't doing anything wrong, but it was all done down to an ideology, wasn't it? But I've read some stories about some of the first responders and that. I read one this morning about a bloke who was an ex-army medic. He was at Edgware Road, and how he rescued this bloke. In fact, I think he ended up rescuing about 12 out of the people that were involved in the bombing on the Edgware Road train. And as he says, it all just kicked in. Yeah, all the training, the sort of processes that us as squaddies go through just automatically kicked in. I've been in that situation myself. I think I told you about Brummy Vine. There was no thought. We didn't have to think about what we were doing, we just did it. And there's an old saying in the army, you train hard, you fight easy. And it's true, it really is true. You know, instincts kick in, you just do what you're trained to do. And it was good to read the article about this bloke. He's now suffering with PTSD, along with those people that have survived the bombings in London will probably be suffering with PTSD. Let's make it known, PTSD is not purely linked to the military. Remember, it's post-traumatic. Yeah. So it could be any trauma that causes you to have mental health issues. I've spoken about mine in the past. PTSD is not a nice thing, but what you have to try and do is rationalise it, put it into some sort of box, yeah, and hopefully you can keep that box closed. There are occasions, I've had 3 occasions in the last 25 years where that box, that Pandora's box, has opened itself up and given me some problems. One of them to the point where I nearly lost my lovely Lisa, in the fact that it was my fault, totally my fault. She actually moved out and moved in with her mum for a couple of months, and I thought that was the end of it, you know, that was me and Lisa done. But luckily enough for us two, in October is our 20th wedding anniversary. Yeah, so we've come through it. But I just want to stress to people out there that if you are struggling with your mental health, please go and seek some support. Some of you may have seen the video I put out yesterday of the Veterans Hub out on the boat. Those guys, absolutely fantastic. We've got a great support team in the Veterans Hub in Loughborough. We're there for one another. We had a couple of guys that couldn't turn up yesterday because suddenly they felt ill. But the messages went out to them saying you were missed. And that means a lot, really means a lot to people. So please, if you are suffering with your mental health, or you think you are suffering with your mental health, go out and seek some support. Speak to someone. Sometimes it's just talking about it that will help you out. So please reach out. Anyway, I've waffled on enough about the bombers in 7/7. Like I say, bad times. Hopefully they're gone. But as we know in this world, we can never say never, can we? So anyway, I'm going to tab on down to Swithy Reservoir as I normally do. I was thinking about tabbing out to where the boat travelled yesterday. But I've got to make a quick one because I've got to go and get my ironing done. Get it all packed, ready for me and Lisa going out. on Wednesday. So to all out there, if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. Not telling you what to do. We don't do that on this channel, neither on Keith's. Yeah, we ask you to consider it. Up to you. You may want to listen to old gits like us waffling on. You might not. It's your choice. Yeah, at the end of the day, you make up your own minds. But if you do subscribe, do us a big favour. Drop me a little comment. Yeah, and say, hey Nobs, I'll just subscribe to your channel. Reason being, I like to actually reply to you. Unlike some of these YouTubers, and I'm not counting Keith in that. Yeah, Keith's a great lad. But some of these tubers, all they want to do is make up numbers, you know. I've got 100,000 followers. Yeah, but how many do you actually sort of react with? How many do you actually reply to? I know I've followed a couple of these big people and I've sent them a message, nothing, not a thing. So guess what I've done? I've unfollowed them. Simple as that, isn't it? Not going to interact with me, then I'm not going to bother. Anyway, I'm off down the bottom. I'm going to do a couple of videos today. One on that object door and let you know what happened there. But as you'll notice, I've got me Let's Tab 59 t-shirt on. Yeah, suppose I better wear it or not, otherwise I'm not worried about Keith. It'll be trace around that will give me grief. Anyway, you all take care. Have a great day. Take care of yourselves. And most of all, stay safe. And as me and Keith always say, let's tab.